Welcome to Tuesdays at 2. I'm your host, RJ. In this show, we take a new ingredient every week. It's going to be an ingredient you can find at your local supermarket, and we're going to teach you how to make a wonderful recipe with it. So stick around and check out the recipe.
Just to keep you guys up to where I'm at is I've really just I've just made some pasta. So I had some pasta on some extremely salted water, and I just finished with that. I'm just moving the pasta over, keeping a little water in it, just to keep it moist and hydrated, and pulling this off the stove so we can get on with what we're doing. So the other thing we're doing today, guys, is we are going to be doing we're in the middle of a mulled wine. So we got the pasta dish with the fish, which is traditionally what you serve on Christmas Eve, not necessarily pasta, but seafood. And then the mulled wine, which is what my grandmother traditionally serves herself on Christmas Eve. So we wanted to make sure we got all that for you. So what I was using just a second ago, I just pulled it off, was our Swiss Diamond stock pot. Guys, this is the last week to save on everything, right? So that stock pot is 24 centimeters, which is 9.5 inches across. It is like 5.5 quarts. So let me grab it for you so you guys can see. Sorry, just talking about it doesn't help anything. So this thing is 5.5 quarts. It's 9.5 inches across the top. It comes with a lid. I have a lid here, not the lid, but it comes with a lid like this, except for one that fits. It has a steam vent in it. It's made out of tempered glass. This whole thing can go in the oven up to 500 degrees.
But wait, before we continue, do me a favor. Click that like button, subscribe to us if you haven't already. Make sure you've hit the bell so you get our notifications, and comment down below. I know you don't like everything I do, so let me hear it. Now, back to the recipe.
So let's talk about this. This is mulled wine. So far in here, I have a bottle of wine, dry red wine, whatever you like there. I have one orange sliced up. I have cinnamon sticks. I have star anise. I have whole cloves. In fact, in this one, I have 8 whole cloves, 2 cinnamon sticks, and 2 star anise in the pot, as well as one orange sliced up in there. I've been simmering it at a real low simmer at 175. It's been going on for about 15 minutes. We're going to do it for 30 minutes so it'll be ready to drink. What we want to do next is we want to put in about a quarter cup of brandy or orange liqueur, whatever you have at the house, something to just give it just that little bit of punch, if you will. So what the key here is, don't bring your mulled wine up, or anytime you're cooking anything with alcohol, you're planning on serving it with alcohol in it. Don't bring it up to a boil, because it will cook the alcohol off. The alcohol will boil out. It actually boils out a little bit lower than actual boiling temperature. So you want to keep it, if you have temperature on it, you want to keep it at about 175 or so. These induction pans do have, or the induction burners, you do have a temperature gauge on them. They're not exact, but we're running at 175. So we got that in there. What we're going to do next is we're going to do a tablespoon of sugar, and we're also going to do a tablespoon of honey. We're going to give it a stir and then let it sit. So it just sits, and honestly, this can sit on your stovetop at 175 or over really low heat all day, right? So the longer it sits, the more those flavors are going to come together. It's a really good drink to serve throughout the day. Be careful, it is wine and liquor. It is a strong drink, but it can sit on your countertop all day. All right, we'll revisit that later when we plate it or serve it, I guess. Let's get back to the clam, the white wine clam sauce. So again, I've got the pasta cooked already. We started with a big pot of salted water, cooked the pasta to the box directions. I really prefer brass cut pasta as opposed to Teflon cut pasta. It gives it more of a rigidity. It holds the sauce better. Get whatever you can at your local store. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You just spent money on Christmas presents. You haven't even watched anybody open yet. Do whatever it is that you like here. Okay, what we're going to do next is we are going to turn this pan on medium high. I'm going to get garlic going. So I'm just crushing 3 cloves of garlic here. Four cloves of garlic. I can't count. We're doing 4 cloves of garlic. Basically, you want a teaspoon of garlic, or a tablespoon of garlic. I'm sorry. So if you're using minced garlic, use a tablespoon there. If you're doing this one, I really don't recommend using dried garlic or garlic powder. You're not going to get the flavor right. It's not going to have the texture. I would prefer you guys to use fresh or mince that you get out of the store is fine too. So I'm going to do a mince on these. I'm going to crush them and then mince them. So you can The trick here is to use the back of your knife. I'm not sure if you guys can see. So you get the clove garlic and you just press down on the back of the knife or the side of the knife. And you can see it really smushes this stuff out. It really starts to break it down. So then you can give it a rough chop. And then another trick is you take a little bit of salt. It's like a pinch, a large pinch. Put it on there. You're going to be putting salt in the meal anyway. And you take your knife and you smush into it. So the salt acts as an abrasive, and it helps break down this minced garlic even more. And that way you get all the good flavors out of it. And if you can get it, what you want to do is get it pretty small mince, because the garlic will basically melt into the food as opposed to having chunks of garlic in your food. I like a strong garlic flavor. I hate biting on too much garlic that was not really cooked. So we don't want to, we want to make sure we break it down enough. Okay. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a tablespoon of oil. I'm probably going to use less than a tablespoon. A tablespoon's a lot, but it's what most recipes call for. It's how I wrote this recipe. Once you get your pan hot. So what we're using here is a Swiss Diamond DLX stainless steel pan. I love stainless steel for meals like this. Anything where you're really searing off garlic, anything where you're going to do seafood, I really like stainless steel. However, you could definitely make this in our nonstick pans as well. So we're just going to use that, and we're going to get a teaspoon of spicy or red pepper flakes. Half a teaspoon probably, unless you really like it spicy. And just kind of roast this in here for just a minute or two. What you want is the garlic to just start turning brown. We're not trying to caramelize this garlic. You don't want to go too brown with it. So you want it to where it just starts to roast. It only takes maybe a minute. Next up, crank this thing up to high. We're going to deglaze with some wine. And we get this clams open as well. So I'm using how do we use this one? Aha. I'm using canned clams. It is the easiest way to make this recipe. It is not the traditional way to make this recipe. By all means, go to the store, get some little necks, and do it that way. All right, so I'm deglazing with about a quarter cup of wine. And you want the juice from both of these cans. If you can get it open. We're going to put those in there as well. So don't put the clams in yet. We're just making the sauce right now. Oh man, did I forget the butter? I sure did. Can you grab some butter, please? All right, so we want to cook this down. We do want to boil the wine off the alcohol, right? Or the alcohol off the wine. So we're gonna boil this down to about a third of what originally started. Is where you want to be here. Hey guys, comment down below. Let me know what you're hoping for Christmas. What's your favorite Christmas Eve meal? Do you guys have a tradition? This is my tradition. It's what I've eaten in my house since I was a little kid. Thank you so much. We grew up in an Italian family in Connecticut, so I don't know. This is what every Christmas Eve was. It was this, and then we had basically a gigantic charcuterie board on Christmas all day long. Loved it. Wish we still did that. All right, so we're going to reduce this down to about a third of where we started, or reduce it down by 2/3, whichever way you want to look at that. We're going to do... I don't have a zester. I'm going to take a peel of an onion. Really, you want to do lemon zest if you've got it. I don't, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a peel, take maybe 3 sides of it. Try not to get into the fruit. You want to be, I don't know if you can see that, but very little white, a lot of yellow. And we're just going to really thinly slice this. Actually, I'm going to do a small dice on it. There we go. And anything, so if you slice through it and slice it easy and it doesn't cut like that, that means you got too much of the rind. We don't. It's not what we want. We just want the outer part, or not the rind, but the skin. So, okay, so we're gonna keep that going. We're gonna keep that going. It's pretty easy, guys. All right, so reduced by about 2/3. I may let it go just a little bit more. What I'm gonna do is after that, I'm gonna put in the 2 cans of the actual clams. I'm gonna use a tablespoon of butter at the end to thicken it, along with the lemons. Well, the lemons don't thicken it, but I'm gonna put them in as well. Next up, I am. Oh no, I'm not doing that yet. Next up, I am putting the clams in. We're gonna let those cook for about a minute and a half. So out of that box, they're already cooked. You can eat them right out of the can. I wouldn't recommend it. Kind of gross right out of the can, but you can. We're not going to salt and pepper this dish until the end. It's a pretty delicate sauce, kind of by design. Excuse me, guys. I got a little tickle in my throat. Excuse me. All right, so over here, we've just been letting this sit, right? It can sit, again, it can sit all day. It is just about ready, though. You can see, you just want to make sure everything in there is mixed. You know, you watch me put the honey and sugar in. All the spices are already in there. Gosh, I am so sorry, guys. Okay, all right, so putting the butter in, putting the lemon in. Gonna chop up just a little bit of this. You don't need a ton of parsley in this one. It's not giving it very much flavor or depth. It is going to help color it. I do recommend you put the parsley in at the very end. That's going to keep it bright and green, as opposed to having it start to cook and turn more of a brown, not brown, but you know, a duller color. So for serving, I'm going to take this lemon that we cut. I'm gonna cut 2 slices out of it. All right, that pasta's going in. So at this point, we reserved pasta water. Always reserve pasta water when you're making pasta until you're done. It doesn't hurt anything to keep it on the side. Because what happens is if you cook that sauce down just a little bit too much, and you're like, oh no, it's too dry, what do I do? Put a tablespoon of that pasta sauce in, or as much as you need, you know, cups if you reduce it down way too far. But so that pasta sauce or that pasta water will help thicken it back up or loosen it back up if you need to, you know, make it more liquidy. But this sauce isn't really, you know, it's not a real wet noodle dish. In fact, so what I'm going to do now is, maybe this didn't work. There we go. I'm going to turn the heat back on this and just let it simmer down just a little bit more on top of the noodles here while we get set up and get. Now that we've cooked this down, we're just going to take it and plate it. So I made 8 ounces of pasta. I don't think I told you guys that. Or I made 8 ounces of pasta? No. I made 6 ounces of pasta. So a normal servings is 2. I tend to go a little high on the pasta when we're doing just a pasta dish. There's no bread here. If you're serving this with crusty bread, which would be really good with or anything like that, I would knock it down to 2 ounces per serving, just because pasta is, you know, it's got a lot of carbs and everything else in it. But you do you. If you like to eat a whole box at one time, by all means, go for it. I'm not here to tell you not to do that. Plus, you're going to be drinking wine with it, especially if you're making this mulled wine. So that's it. Boom. Garnish it with a lemon. Guys, that's really it. It is a easy one to do. It's very traditional. It's not overly hard to cook, as you saw. It's still a light and elegant meal. I mean, you've got clams in it. Excuse me. You've got a butter wine sauce. It's very traditional. It's great. So over here, what we're doing here, guys, is I need to pull that orange back up in my cutting board. Where did the cutting board? Oh, all right. So keep an eye on it, like I just saw here. Clear it off. This thing started to come to a boil. Don't let it. As soon as it starts to bubble, move it. off the heat. That should be cool again. All right. Move it off the heat, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to cook the alcohol off of it. Wine and well, all alcohol, sorry, boils off under the boiling point of water. So if it's already boiling, sorry, it's too late. It's starting to cook off. So just pull it off if you see it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut a couple of slices of orange here. We cut them in half. And cut a little slit on them so we can put them on. Actually, I'm gonna cut them in half again. These are kind of small glasses. Cut a little slit on them so we can put them on the edge of the glass. We'll do those after we get in. Now, here's a trick, guys. So you can strain this through a strainer or whatever you want to do. But if you take a Swiss Diamond ladle and a Swiss Diamond strainer, they kind of fit together. So you can go in here, if I can get them to hold, and then you can pull out just the yummy stuff. And that's what we're looking at. If you have a strainer, by all means, go in with a strainer because it'll be easier. Or strain it, into a pan. That's it. So remember, it is wine with alcohol, with spirits in it, so you don't need to serve 12, 15 ounces at a time. And make sure you tell your guests it's warm. And make sure you spill it all over the table like I did, because it wouldn't be Christmas without wine stains everywhere. See? Wine stains everywhere. Okay, so we're going to take these, wipe them off just a little bit. Boom, put some oranges in there. Let that wine get soaked up. And you can serve them just like this. Only the first one has to look pretty. After that, people aren't going to care. They're just going to come back, stick the ladle in the pot, and just refill themselves, so that's fine. So just have the first one look pretty when you serve it.
Thanks for joining us. We had a lot of fun. Do me a favor, click that like button, click the subscribe button. If you haven't hit the bell, make sure you hit that. Comment down below. Stay tuned. Next week, we're going to bring you another great recipe.